In Australia, we call it the digital economy, which we define as the global network of economic and social activities that are enabled by information and communications technologies, such as the internet, mobile and sensor networks. The truth is, the digital economy is now the real economy, and it has been going through a series of changes. Just as the internet itself has transformed most of our lives, ubiquitous high-speed broadband will do so again. Australia's digital economy has lagged behind because of poor infrastructure. Broadband speeds were too slow and prices too high. Our first priority has been to build the infrastructure for the 21st century. The second has been to develop the benefits to society, to productivity and to the economy overall. Our National Digital Economy Strategy sets out Australia's vision to realise the benefits that flow from the national broadband network and to be a leading digital economy by 2020. The government is funding programs in the 8 areas of businesses and households, health, education, teleworking, government service delivery, the environment and digital engagement in regional Australia. These initiatives demonstrate the economic benefits, the productivity impact of universal, affordable, high-speed broadband. They also demonstrate the social benefits, such as the ability to care for an ageing population in their own homes. I developed the NBN policy to correct policy failures over 2 decades by both sides of politics. We had relied upon a theory that the market would efficiently provide broadband infrastructure. But the incumbent, Telstra, was still one of the most vertically integrated firms in the world. The NBN policy was designed to improve the availability of broadband and achieve structural reform. It is not surprising that the policy has been controversial. We relied too much on the private sector to deliver broadband. Our policy recognises that government has a role in the provision of utility infrastructure. Our NBN policy took broadband from the business pages to the front pages of our newspapers. The issue really was one of concern to the public. We tried a tender to find a partner but failed because of the global financial crisis. No one could raise capital. The biggest challenge has been to overcome the perception that public enterprise can't deliver a project of this kind. We were taking on the incumbent, Telstra, one of Australia's largest corporations. The biggest threat to the policy remained their attitude, and I needed Telstra to participate with us. I introduced legislation that invited Telstra to agree to a prospective structural separation over 8 years, in essence, by committing to migrate its fixed line customers to the NBN as the network was built. Under this scenario, Telstra faced the prospect of payments for its participation, or its alternative, they faced significant restrictions on the future operation of their business. In particular, without structural separation, Telstra would be prohibited from acquiring new spectrum for new 4G services. Telstra's management took up the invitation to commit to the NBN and structurally separate. As a consequence, NBN Co has access to Telstra's infrastructure of buildings, pits and ducts. In the 80s and 90s, we applied competition policy to large sections of the economy. We opted for infrastructure-based competition, while still having a strong national champion incumbent. This policy, after 20 years, has failed to deliver for the Australian public. Distribution networks really are natural monopolies. No one anywhere proposes duplicating the electricity or water distribution infrastructure to homes. The NBN is a wholesale-only network at the same price for the same service wherever you are in the country. We are seeing a more dynamic, competitive market at the retail level on the NBN than we ever had with infrastructure-based competition. We set ourselves to be one of the world's leading digital economies by 2020. To achieve that, we want Australia to be in the top 5 OECD countries, both by proportion of households connected to broadband and percentage of businesses capitalising on online opportunities. It also means the adoption of smart sensor technology. By 2020, more than half of all premises will have smart energy meters. At least a quarter of our medical specialists will be regularly conducting telehealth consultations, and our education and skills sector will be mostly using online and video conferencing as part of their programs. We will have doubled the number of Australians who telework and have 80% of Australians engaging with government online. For the first time, we are delivering equivalent access to all premises across our vast continent. People in our country towns and vast outback will have the same opportunities to participate in the digital economy as those in our biggest cities. If you want innovation, you need 3 things: a problem, people to work on it, and tools to solve it. Our innovation has mostly been around exploiting our natural endowments. We have a very innovative mining and agricultural sector. The government research body, the CSIRO, has recently concluded legal action over its patents on Wi-Fi, developed by scientists to solve a challenge in radio astronomy, not computing. Research by the Australian Bureau of Statistics has found a strong relationship between ICT intensity and business innovation activity. Businesses with broadband connections, a web presence, and/or e-commerce are significantly more likely to engage in innovative effort. In an area of Melbourne where we have first connected the NBN, a group of small businesses is cooperating to make the most of the innovation opportunities of the NBN. The availability of high-speed broadband will enable the skilled Australians to develop more innovative solutions to our and the world's problems. Yes, I do. I prefer to frame it as a question of trust. There is a clear correlation between trust and the success of an economy. The important characteristics of the most successful economies need to be transferred to the online economy. The first is a strong ethic where people take responsibility for their own lives. The second is a balance between optimism and realism. One rule for all, and cheating is not tolerated. And finally, encouraging innovation, not reinforcing orthodoxy or monopolies. The political class, as you call it, of every persuasion needs to focus on the fact that governments exist for a reason, to provide the security citizens need. Essential infrastructure like broadband is part of that. So is developing trust in the online world.